interested, please give us a call back. Well, the guy called Dell right back.
No, he answered.
Well, he answered. So, Dell was on the phone and I was listening and well, what's a good time? And he said, how about tomorrow? And he said 10 o'clock and Dell said, well, how about 9:30? So we got a listing appointment. And that was the third door, I think. But it was interesting because, you know, he didn't answer the door. And we stood there for half a minute, you know. So we just put the folder inside the door in our cards. But he saw the folder, he didn't see our cards, because they were still in the front door.
Oh yeah, when we arrived the next morning.
Yeah. So it was just, then after that, we went to 2 more doors. One kid was home, and the other one, no one was home. But.
Right, and then I cut the session short because I was excited, mission accomplished. Because we got, I got 5 points because I set up a listing appointment, right? And then we listed him yesterday.
Yeah.
We listed him yesterday, so I got 5 more points for business planning. So when you're business
Where was
planning-
that, you guys?
In Desert Ridge.
Oh.
So when you're business planning, right? So I'm gonna mess up your sheet, right? So this is on everybody's desk, right? So that night, I went home and checked 5 boxes, right? And then this day later, I got 5 more because anytime, if you go back here and you look at your point structure, it's right here of what you're trying to achieve, right? So you gotta look at that every day. So Carl, that's why it's important for the 5 doors that we hit yesterday that you bring numbers, because as we're traveling to the next house to door knock, I'm calling the people that we just left the door packet to, right? So I was following Scott and I was calling, is his name Victor or Mike?
Mitchell.
Mitchell? What the fuck? I don't remember.
Mike Mitchell.
No, the guy we listed.
Yeah.
Mitchell?
Mitchell Smith.
All right. Mitchell.
But we both called him Mike. I don't know why. We did. Not at the listing appointment.
All right.
It's in Desert Ridge.
Okay, so just a couple of key factors, right? A, you got to do it, right? Because I want to get from point A to point B, right? So that's the reason why I do it, because I'm playing a game of wealth, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever your board game is for 2019. We hit the door, and then I called them on the way to the next door. So you go to your car, you put the next door into your GPS, and you're calling the guy that you just left the packet to. I didn't think he was going to answer. I mean, how could 3 cars be in the driveway and he doesn't answer? And I told him I just hit his door, and he told me he didn't hear it. And then objection handlers, right? How many times is the consumer going to say no before they say yes?
3. 5.
5. Generally speaking,
3
5.
for me, just, you know.
All right, 3 for you. All right, so 5 times.
You're
So
not
you know what the first thing he told me
Depends on how
was?
good looking he is.
The first thing he told me, so here's the first objection handler, and Scott didn't hear this other side of it. The first thing he told me was he's listening with Mike Dahmer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, you told me, he says, you know, he's got a really good friend at church. And it's Dawn.
Well-
You said this
well-
at the Tuesday meeting too.
Okay, yeah, but see, we didn't ink him until,
Yesterday.
which I was all over Scott's ass because.
That's why I didn't go to the sales meeting.
Well, I don't think it should have taken, I'm not picking on you, I don't think it should have taken 5 days from the listing appointment to ink the guy. We actually found out on Friday, but we didn't ink him till Wednesday.
Yep.
When he called back and said, we got the deal, you immediately say, what's your email address? I'm gonna send it in DocuSign because we can start our soft marketing tomorrow morning. Because urgency matters. So here's the deal, the guy, his pastor, the story gets better. I mean, we beat a lot of people on this deal. The pastor of his church was a licensed agent that worked under Mike Dahmer that had now moved to Texas. So if he would have called his pastor and said, I met this guy, Del Rounds, you know, opens up a whole other can of worms of time frame between the listing appointment and there, and every second does matter, guys. Every second matters. All right. But the good news is, I'm breathing lightly now.
Good.
We have 1,070,000 listing, with the master bedroom upstairs. That's perfect timing for January, February, March, and April, because we have it for 6 months, right?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah,
Is there some key points in the presentation, in your conversation with that guy, that you think made you the choice versus him calling the preacher?
yes. We agreed that we're gonna hand show the listing.
Since both of us live close, so,
Yeah.
It's a big selling point.
you know, it's hard to compete with Dell when you sold 450 in Desert Ridge, you know. But unsurprisingly, he really didn't know your first name or,
No.
you know.
No,
That
you-
just
you
blows
should-
my mind, that
Yeah,
who
not
doesn't
mine.
know him in this
It's a
area?
big world out there, Scott.
Well, I know, but not in Desert Ridge. It's a small world.
Yeah, but, yeah,
Well, go ahead, I was gonna make a comment to that point.
Go-
just
please,
as a-
go
as a
ahead. It's okay.
motivational.
open mic, motivational's good.
It just blows me away how many big nationally ranked teams are in this city. I never see their signs.
No,
It's,
they're
it's,
mostly buyers.
it's phenomenal. I mean,
Well-
you know, so you think, you know, being a single agent, like, oh my gosh, I gotta compete with all these people and it's so hard and so difficult. And really, you look around
Well-
and you're like, holy crap, this is a massive market.
Absolutely. So let's change the game. All right. And let's think about Mike Dahmer for a second.
Does everybody know him?
Shut that off. Real quick.
Okay.
Dahmer's been in real
Get
estate.
a lawsuit for slander. That's Jeffrey's brother. Okay, now, but
Is that live? or-
this is why.
Because if you've already met with somebody as a listing, you can certainly lose them, like you're saying. Now, what I think is really interesting here is in Colorado, a buyer-broker agreement, employment agreement is required. It's not required here, and it saves your ass so many times. If there's 6 months, you could use that same
Buyer.
philosophy
Oh, from buying.
if you show your first house to that person January 15th and you don't have an employment agreement, how many times between January 15th and May 1st, how many realtors do you think they come in contact with?
Right.
And
Is
so
the
I think
buyer
it's,
broker for Denver the same as ours? Is it worded the same?
no, but it's very similar. And I remember turning them into Sandy, and Sandy kept saying, "Why are you doing this?" And I said,
Yeah, because he's saying you don't have to turn it in.
You don't have
until
to
you
turn it
contract.
in, but the thing is I don't lose buy, and you might put in even more work going to a list, showing 5 or 6 or 7 houses to a buyer, and then going on one listing appointment. So why wouldn't you say income now,
Right.
You know,
So-
on that note, Del, just a real quick thing for the team here.
Yeah.
income, baby.
What we do is, you know how when you're getting a listing, they're like, well, you're gonna buy our house, or you're gonna find our house for us as well, so, we want a discount on commission. So we always bring the buyer broker now with the listing agreement. So if we're gonna give them a discount up front, they have to sign
You
a
tie
buyer
it in.
broker.
Yeah,
So
and
So
you
if
can.
make that your policy, it's a
Sure.
good policy.
And you can put on page 5 of your listing agreement, and you can tie them in together as saying addenda, right? Addenda is buyer broker employment agreement, and then on the buyer broker employment agreement, addenda is the listing contract. So you can
Okay.
tie them all in one big whack, meaning they can't do one without the other.
No, can I apologize, I don't mean to take over. On that, always make sure you take your discount on the sale, because what happens a lot of times, that I've seen agents say, hey, I'll give you 1% off, I'll do it for 2 instead of 3, if you buy from me, they do it for 2,
And
and
then
they don't
it.
buy from them, or something happens, or they don't buy, or something like
So
that.
give it on the buy side.
Yes, you always say, hey, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rebate you, I'll do it for 2%, but I'm gonna rebate you that amount of money when you buy, to ensure that you buy.
Lana, you've done that, right? You do it as a rebate on the buy versus discount on the sale.
We're doing that right now on one.
Oh, who?
In a way. You and I,
Yeah, who?
on the reload for Jim.
Oh, right.
Kind of.
But if they're listing,
Yeah.
and it's coming out of their pocket,
Say that again?
if they're listing, they're the seller, then it's coming out of their pocket.
But they're also getting a.
Yeah, but
gonna get
you're
their
just
cost
offsetting
paid.
it, they're coming less out of pocket on the buy side,
The
so it's the same thing.
only problem you could come across with that is, can they accept, how much can they accept on the buy side? How much will the lender
Right,
allow?
that is.
Right,
So if
So,
you get the seller to cover costs, then they never have to use it.
yeah,
That's actually not true, because if you're a principal in transaction, you can be rebated the money that doesn't have anything to do with, and this would be a good lender question, because I've always given, like USA gives military rebates and things like that, and typically, a brokerage fee that is not a seller concession or a concession. Is there any lenders in the group?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not, unless it's like to be paid for its closing costs, but if it's just like your commission, it's not part of, we don't care about that.
Yeah,
It has to
That's
be
what I
part of
understood.
closing costs, but
I would just make sure all parties are informed and you stay ahead of it, don't wait until 3 days prior to close the escrow and say, oh, there's a rebate involved, right? So as long as you get ahead of it and earmark for something and all parties know, just, work it out, right?
I bought a quad one time. I bought a quad.
Carl, okay, so tell them about our door knocking experience yesterday, right? You had 5 set up.
Yeah, and I left the list of phone numbers on my desk at home, so.
It
My bad.
happens, but
My
we
bad.
learned, right?
Yeah.
Every time that you get ready, you learn little things, right? So you forgot the phone numbers, but you had the 5 door knocks, right? 2 of them were in Desert Highlands, Guard Gate Community. We elected not to go into there. But you could if you wanted to. I choose not to. And then we were down to 3, right? We hit the
Left the
one,
package
left the
at one.
packet.
And then, the one in Pinnacle Vistas, we pull up and I learned something, Dell just pulls right in the driveway.
Well, the guy was there doing landscaping.
Yeah, so he pulls, I park
So
on the
he's
street.
sitting there planting a tree. I jump out and say, "Hey, I came to help." And the guy, I think he said, "Oh, you're just in time." And I said, "Oh, my back hurts a little bit." He's like, "You was a shithead."
Yeah. But it turns out that Dell interviewed, he expired, his listing expired last July. So I'm going back at some of the older ones that are still expired and trying to find out why. And Dell had interviewed prior to that for that listing.
Right, but we didn't know any of this.
No.
We didn't know it. When we drove up, I had no idea what we were going to a guy's house that I interviewed 2 years ago for. I didn't get the job, by the way. And I didn't lose any sleep over it. I think he had some expectations that were unrealistic. Maybe this time around it might be more realistic. And even then it's going to be an uphill battle, because what's the first thing he told us?
He says, I've already narrowed it down to 2 realtors, and I'm pretty happy with my choices.
Mm-hmm. And then where did we go?
Well, then, I think that's when you remembered that you'd interviewed with him before.
Well, he remembered me right out of the gate.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Okay. Yeah, but it might have been while I was walking in
Yeah.
from the street. Yeah. So, we talked with him, mostly Dell, for 15 minutes. And, he said that we could send him a package over, so we went back to the office, put an email together.
Read him the email we sent them. I think it's kind of important.
Well, I don't have that with me.
You look in your sent emails on your phone. I'll look at mine.
Yeah, I did forward a copy to you. Let's see if I can.
All right, so I think this is important because this is a couple of things that I do on luxury listings that I think is important for follow-up.
Okay, I have it.
Okay, all right, go ahead. So I sent him my resume and community outreach as an attachment because we spent a lot of money on it. It's kind of cool. So you can use, so everybody always says, well, yeah, Del, well, that's you. What can I use? RE/MAX sells a house every 30 seconds. The company you work for does over $1 billion worth of residential resale. We have 122,000 sales associates. We're in 127 countries. You know, you can use other items, right? This is just what I use, or you can use company statistics or your partner statistics. All right, read what we said.
Okay, his name is Dale. Said Dale, thank you for taking the time to visit with Dell and I this afternoon. Attached is the package highlighting Dell's resume and around STEAM community outreach. Our strategy will be strong right out of the gate. We will take all showing calls and vet the buyer's agent with the following questions. Did the buyer look at the photos online? Does the buyer have a home to sell? Do you have a buyer loan pre-qualification letter in your possession? How long have you been working with the buyer? Is the buyer local or out of state? Would this be the buyer's primary home or second home? When we call you to set the appointment, we will have all the answers to the above questions. Del or I will meet every buyer at your home with a custom brochure. Also, we'll add a drone tour to our high definition photo package. Commission will be as follows, 4.5% if 2 agents are involved.
There's a reason for that. I'm not happy about that rate structure, but it's a long story. I know this guy. I know him for 2 years.
If Del Rounds or Carl finds the buyer without another agent involved, it's 3.5%. 2% if buyer comes off the yard sign. Can we meet again Tuesday the 22nd at 8 a.m.? We'd like to demonstrate how we will show your home to prospective buyers. You can contact either Del or I at the following numbers, Carl, Remax Fine Properties.
All right, so this works really well for me, right? Because one of the things that most sellers that expire say is that the people that came through their house didn't even know what they were looking at, right? So when I say, oh, that will never happen with us because I'm going to ask them the 6 questions, right? Well, what are those questions, right? Who looked at the photo package? Who selected this house? You or the buyer? Is that an important question if you're going to show the house, right? Well, I selected it. Okay. Has the buyer looked at the photos? No, right? Is the buyer aware that there's 3 steps coming out of the garage? Is the buyer aware that the master bedroom is upstairs, right? These are vital questions. Have you ever shown a 2-story house and your feedback was that the buyer didn't know that the master bedroom was upstairs? If you gave that feedback to me as a seller, I'd probably fire you on the spot. Now think about that. If I had to get my kids off to school, run around, make all the beds, clean up the dog shit in the backyard, make sure the landscapers are there, trim my trees, wash my windows, turn on the lights, put on hype jazz, put the citrus smell out there, make sure the toilets are flushed, seats are down, right? Put on my bed, right?
Yeah.
And then, hey Scott, what's the feedback?
Oh, they don't want a master upstairs.
Yeah,
What?
don't they know? Didn't they know? Why'd they come and look at my
Wait,
house?
Scott, wait,
Oh, I'm the agent, all of a sudden in trouble, right?
wait, what did you just say?
What?
Yeah.
Hello?
Anyway, you get it, right?
Yes.
So is that real, I mean, who asked those questions? And I'll
Well-
play the devil's advocate, because if I'm showing your listing and you ask me those questions, I'm gonna say, scratch you off the list on that.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
So are you okay with that?
Well, I'll call my seller back and say, hey, I had a chance to show your house, but this guy, Frank, won't answer any of the 6 questions. Would you like to call him? I'm just doing my job.
But who calls from your team? Who makes those calls? If you're gonna put that in writing,
Yeah.
if
Well-
I'm showing your listing,
Yeah.
who's asking me those questions?
Well, in that situation, it'd be probably Carl.
Okay.
But those are legitimate questions that the seller, and if you
They
don't
are, no, they definitely are.
If you don't want to answer, I get it. I mean, there are some buyer's agents that say, because I've had this, do you know who I am? And I'm,
Right, yeah.
yeah, I know who you
I've
are.
had that.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. No.
So here's the other question I have for you.
Yeah.
And in this situation, you would have kicked my ass in this listing, because
You would never ask.
Well, I'd never do that.
Why?
Because, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So, the last buyer that I had, that was, Jeff Fisher and I unfortunately weren't able to get it together, it was $950,000 to $1.2 million. I had a buyer who was on a very strict schedule. Probably out of $10 million showing listings, I had 4 agents who said, I'm sorry, Frank, I can't make it at 2:30 because I've told the seller I'm gonna be there. Can you be there at 4:30? Can we do it tomorrow morning at 8:30? And I'm saying, we can't do that. So guess what? What I wanted to do is just go, can you call your seller and tell them you just missed an opportunity for
Right.
$1 million
Yeah, we-
buyer because you couldn't be there at 2:30 when my buyer could make it?
Right, okay, but I didn't,
That's
we're not
not-
talking about a specific time, we're talking about vetting the buyer. Would you, so you said you wouldn't answer those questions either?
Out of courtesy, I probably would, but
We always accommodate people's times. We don't say, now, there are times where if the seller requests me personally and I already have a 1 o'clock set up,
Right.
I will still say, let me check, and then I'll call Lori, Lena, and I'll say, hey, does 1
Yeah.
o'clock work for you? They say yes, then I call the seller back and say, hey,
Yeah.
you know, I know you hired me, I can't do it, I'm spoken for. Can I take Lena, Robin?
Yeah,
you know,
and I
yeah.
think that works for you with your team because you have a nice big team. I think where it comes into a problem, you want to be real careful about making that commitment is if it's you or, like Colleen and I probably couldn't do that
Oh, to hand show.
to hand show.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm talking about the hand showing
Okay, got it.
as well as.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we've gotten ourselves into a little bit of a pickle in that $1 million and up. You know, because Dell actually said that he expects
They
the,
expect that at that price point.
well, this is interesting. He specifically brought up, because he probably got this back from his agent, that the house doesn't have gas, but on the southeast corner of the property, gas stops right there. So he said, you got to be an objection handler. So I want to make sure whoever I hire knows that when the gas objection comes up, says, oh, it's no issue. Come here, let me show you where the gas line stops.
Right.
All you have to do now is bring it up to the front and bring it into the house. Or the city of Scottsdale, just so you guys know, makes you bring it across your entire property to the pinpoint of the next property to the north. It's called, there's a word for it, it's called circling or something like that. It's the same thing for fire hydrants. So when you get into development, if they got to put a 3/4 inch water line for a fire hydrant, it's the same thing. They require that you do that. Scott's shaking his head because he does a lot of land deals. The other Scott behind you. We have two Scotts sitting in the same row.
No,
The same.
Del, one thing that, when we brought up hand showing, both of our people that are selling their house, they both went like this. We want that.
Oh, I love it.
Because some of the buyers that came in, they said, why do you have so much space? We want more bedrooms. Well,
But don't you think some of those objections come up? And I'm only saying when you're a buyer agent, if I'm showing 4 houses or 5 houses and showing that many houses is what determined that the buyer said, you know what, after those 5 houses you showed me, here's what I've come to the conclusion. I like the main level master. I'm not sure I like the second level master. So that objection comes up,
Much later.
and rather than you being accused of not doing your job or not knowing the property, or your buyer didn't know the property, maybe that objection comes up by virtue of showing 5 or 6 or 7 houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just be very cautious of giving the seller that feedback.
Yeah.
In that, you know, like, we're never going to mention to Dale, this guy, if we got the account, that they didn't like your house because there's no gas. Because he'd probably go ballistic on us.
Well, and the other thing with him is he won't allow a lockbox. So it made the hand showing even more important to him.
Yeah, but I'm not big on these, right? I'd rather be prospecting or at home watching the ballgame, right? And let the buyer's agent do their job. So here's one other, so when you develop these list of questions, on the expired accounts, sellers love them. Because when you call them back, you can say, hey, we got a showing request for Saturday. The buyer's agent's been working with them for a month. The buyer picked the house and has seen the photos. They're aware that the master bedroom's up. They're aware that the house doesn't have gas, but it's on this north property line. Carl will be there. Will arrive there 15 minutes. You know, you give them the whole big picture. Anyway, that's how we won that account, right? Another thing we told him, Scott, is in the additional photography that we'll have a floor plan, right? So we're going to tell the buyers to look at the floor plan because this house could be up to a 6-bedroom. It's currently in there is a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath, but it could be up to a 6-bedroom. So I think that they've been missing some market. All right, so door knocks work, right? What does your game look like? and how are you gonna get from point A to point B this year? 2 days in a row, door knocked, we nailed one, and then hopefully, you know, we're gonna get a listing appointment for Dale. I tease them a little bit at the end in the luxury home price range to where, as part of the interview process, I tell them that in the interview, they're gonna go outside of their own home, ring the doorbell, and I'm gonna greet them as the agent and the buyer at the front door. Sellers eat that shit up. Now, as many times as I've thrown that out,
Wait, say that again.
sure,
We're gonna meet him
I
and roll.
love that. That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, you're gonna role play with the client.
I'm gonna tell, if you and Christy were selling your house, I tell you to go outside and ring the doorbell, and I'm gonna greet you as the seller's agent.
And I'm how we finish the house.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, hey, this is the west wing, this is the east wing. Back to the back, you'll see city-like views. You know, the house has this, it has that, right? And I give them a brief overview, and then I usually ask the buyer or the buyer's agent, would you like me to give you a quick nickel tour, or you want to go all in? And sometimes the buyer will jump in at that stage and say, oh no, you know the house, take us, right? Or the buyer's agent will step in and say, I got this. We don't want to be sold, let me do my job. And I tell the sellers that because you're at a very delicate point, right? Because I've seen sellers give brochures to my buyers with their contact information on them,
Yeah.
right? You know, right? But you need to set that up, right? If you're showing like a $6 million buyer, do I want them to have Sandra Baldwin's brochure? Maybe not, right? So maybe when you call to set up that $6 million house, you tell, I'm using Sandra as just that we can pick on, who else you guys want to? Let's go Joan Levinson. Joan Levinson, she sells a lot of $7 and $8 million houses. You tell Joan right up front, listen Joan, I'm bringing them in. Don't give them a brochure. Send them to me now. Maybe you want to do that, right? Because I don't know if you guys have ever met Joan. She's pretty amazing in that sector. I've heard stories that she's very talented. She really knows how to sell the sizzle. And, you know, so you don't want to lose an $8 million buyer to somebody that... So set those expectations, right? So at a high-end listing appointment, tell the sellers to go outside and come in as a buyer and greet them at the front door and show them what you're going to do. It's pretty cool. All right. Done with prospecting on cancels and expireds. I challenge you guys all to get out there and door knock. Otley hit 5 yesterday, and you're up for 2 maybe? Yep, okay. And then Christy, tell me about the videos that you posted.
Well, I learned that I moved my camera a little too fast. So 2 things that I just thought of is when you were talking about bringing somebody in and meeting them at the door and kind of, you know, saying how you would show the home. So it just caught my attention because when I had to walk into these model homes, so what I did is I went out to D.R. Horton and did a video of the model home to post on Facebook. And so thinking about that, I had to walk through the house and I talked the whole way and said, oh, here's the master, here's, you know, this is this. So I went through and I gave an entire feature dump basically on the house. But my video was too long, it won't post on Facebook.
Too many
Upload it to
megabytes or whatever.
Oh,
Can you upload
so
it to
see,
YouTube?
so Carl, see, this is what I love about
When
this.
you go on Adobe or
See-
stuff like that, you will change everything, the settings, so you can upload on Facebook. Because you can squeeze because it's problem of format, so you have to play with other
Okay, I need help with
apps.
that. But I learned that I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, but see, now you're one more day ahead of what you didn't know.
Right.
And that's why when you do this stuff, just like yeah.
Utilize your IT. Keith can help you with that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I know that.
What
now.
if I-
Ah,
But
but see,
I did 2 of them.
That's
It was
a good
different
idea.
models, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god,
That's what he's there for.
But see, I love that because now you've moved from the amateur status to intermediate, right? And then from
Next week I'll be
intermediate to an expert. You know, you're going to become the next Frank Finelli that's
You know-
all over that stuff.
He has a software on his phone where, you know, when you do a picture, every time you step, well, I don't know what it's called, but it looks professional. There's no jumble, there's no...
What's it called?
It's an app.
No, you have to buy It's ham. I have to
Just stick, right?
DJI. You have to check the name on it. Well, you just buy it and you put your phone on it, and it's like a
stabilizer?
yeah, it's stabilizer. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, it's got shocks on it. Where
Yeah,
it
so
automatically.
everything is
Is
smooth.
shocks the right word? What is it?
Steady stabilizer.
Drones have those.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
gimbal. It's a stabilizer.
Yeah.
But Carl, you see the same thing. You were hard on yourself after you didn't bring those 5 phone numbers, but it happens all the time. Because until you become an expert, you're gonna struggle. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw out something about her video that we haven't talked about yet. Do this very carefully.
Open forum.
You want to do a timeout on it?
Should I link the room?
The skirt was a little high.
Yeah, so
You can see it in the
I'm not
mirror.
gonna take it personally, but Dell asked Christy to go do the videos after he made mention of how good looking she is and how she has.
I
a good
said you
face
guys
for
as a
video.
couple.
But Christy got the nod to do the video, so okay, I'm okay with it.
Otley, by the way, I'm more attracted to you.
But so anyhow, the point I'm making fun of is that on my way in this morning when I was thinking about those videos and posting those videos, Christy did a great job of showcasing a property to catch a buyer's attention, but she didn't put herself in the video. And so all of us, in sales are personable and we're trying to make connections with people. So if we're going to post a video, I think it's important that our face is on the
I agree.
video and that.
ask you.
So why did you not do that?
Well, because it's under, everything's under Otley, so I felt kind
Oh,
of weird about that.
ADRE? That's
So-
that's a good,
So
yeah.
I
Till
made
your
sure
license,
I
right?
didn't do that. And the other thing too is that next time I do it, I need to use his phone because all of his stuff uploads easier
Yeah.
into his Facebook than trying to do mine and have to share it with him and I have to, so I learned a lot.
I think you need a YouTube account.
Yeah.
We have them.
Okay,
I
so
just
then
haven't told you.
you can upload to YouTube.
I love these meetings.
There's a video record right on the YouTube app. And you can log into his YouTube app.
Okay.
But Facebook doesn't like YouTube, so you gotta talk to somebody that knows how to get around Facebook not showing that ad.
Keith Sheffer.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Matthew's good at that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing against Keith, he doesn't know that much about the social media.
Yeah, but so Facebook
But-
wants you to go Facebook
But he's
Live.
excellent.
And
at
that'll be
technical.
first and everything.
Oh,
And
you
if
upload
it's YouTube,
straight to Facebook and YouTube. You have to make like the same video and two different. That's what I do. I send one to Facebook and one to YouTube to make sure like he go up on the
yeah,
the
because
rank.
Google is YouTube and they don't
Yeah.
like each other. Facebook.
The thing about YouTube though is if you take your YouTube link and you put it in there, you're not going to see the view counter.
Oh,
And
that's what
if
it
you
is.
download it and upload the video, when people watch that views, and then if your video starts to really hit off, the number of views really does play a part.
Onto YouTube, right?
Yeah, or yeah, so if you upload to
Okay, so
YouTube and you take that link, post it on there, it'll be a link and they'll go to YouTube. As long as you have a lot of YouTube traffic, your YouTube profile will
And your
build
Google,
up.
your Google profile. And when you
But
search
Facebook itself won't show the view
You're
counter.
almost better to compress
If
it
you
a
go by
little
your
bit.
business page, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes, yes, he does.
there's just so many little things.
See,
Dallas-
isn't that
I
fascinating?
think Dallas-
Yeah, I'm with you, Chrissy. I have no idea. So I
totally
would.
lost as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would connect, what's your first name again?
Alex.
Alex, I would connect with Alex. It sounds like he's got it, not, it sounds like you got a good handle on it too.
Yeah, I would just ask.
Yeah,
But anyway, it was a good experience.
yeah,
Like,
and.
I did it, and that was the hardest part, was doing it.
It is, and what we did in our coaching session is put them both on the spot. I said, no, Isla, you're gonna go do this now, and Chrissy, you're gonna go do this now, and you guys got 2 hours. And Otley called me with like 40 seconds left and hit all 6, right? Because we all have that procrastination.
It was good. I will say, if you want to get something done, having a time frame really, it made us do it. 'Cause we're like, and we walked back to the office, we're like, oh crap, we gotta go do this. Like, because we knew we had to report back in 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
and
was
it was-
laughing because she had to do the videos because I was like, I'm glad that she done it.
Yeah, and I agree with you now with the ADRE, right? Of making sure that you get licensed and then because you want to be careful talking about stuff like that, right? All right, so now we got videos, we got door knocking, we got steps that you have to plan with phone numbers, Scott, right? Because if you just door knock and we didn't call Mitchell,
He never would have called us back.
no, he wouldn't have. And then our next follow-up would have been, and Kelly, I learned this from you, would
Thank
be
you.
to text them. Right? So even if you leave the phone, right, hey Mitchell, we just dropped off a marketing packet, right? Am I done? No, then you text them, right?
Text is so less scary to people.
Yeah, and then you can even come back and look them up on Facebook, right? And then instant message him, friend him, and instant message him on Facebook.
Stalk them.
Right? Yeah.
So what about door knocking without phone numbers? Is that a waste of my time?
No,
No.
no, it's better to not do that, but what are you door knocking?
Do you want to know the value of your home?
Okay, so your circle prospect door knocking. Okay, these are canceled, so it's a higher hit ratio, more chance of earning paycheck in the next 30 days. If you're circle prospecting around just general listings of what you recently sold as part of your story, so let's go. You guys want to get into circle prospecting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to give you an example of who knows Colina del Norte? Cave Creek and Lone Mountain, right? So I just put a home on Sleepy Ranch Road on the market.
What address? 5515?
5017 East Sleepy Ranch Road. South facing backyard, 575. It's the only single level that's on the market currently, right? All right. So what I did is I called Pan Bay. This list is probably, how much was your Silver League list? Okay, all right. I'm gonna say this list was probably about $400. But I got,
I think it was about that.
okay, so I got phone numbers, so I'm gonna call them up, and I'm gonna do a live call now. And I'm gonna share with them four thoughts. That A, do you have a sister, brother, uncle, cousin that wants to move into this house? B, I priced this house at $220 a square foot. Would you like an evaluation on your house? Right? Any other rumblings in the neighborhood, like the Duckets that are moving out of the neighborhood or downsizing? And then fourth, any other real estate that you own that you need some help on? I'm having really good success with this program. My 950 house in DC Ranch that you've sat was circle prospecting. And the house that Terry and I just sold in Vita's old neighborhood, Redbird.
Yeah.
What is that subdivision
Not
called?
Belisara. Is it Belisara?
Anyway, Michael was a circle prospecting call a year ago. So it's proven, and it really works, because they know now you're telling them a story, right? You're asking for a buyer, so they like that you're trying to, that you're out there doing push-ups, trying to be active versus reactive, and then you get in and write other things about, your evaluation, where you move into, that kind of stuff. I like circle prospecting because it's an easy call. I very seldom is it confrontational, like expireds and cancels. Okay, but you got to do it.
It's nice to use it when you put a buyer in the neighborhood too.
Yeah, double-sided.
That's-
Yeah. The other thing that is happening, listings are vital right now. Buyers are absolutely going direct, and it's
They
not.
are.
Yep, and it's not, the pedal's not going to come off that. So if you don't have any listing inventory, it's going to get harder and harder to work buyers. Yep.
Where are you getting that information?
Pan Bay, she's our information wrangler.
And you have to pay for that information always.
Yeah,
It's not
it takes a lot of time to do it.
When you say buyers are going
It's
direct,
worth
you mean
it.
they're going to the listing agents?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see more and
Because they
more
buy
and
me.
more of that
Yeah. Don't
as
want to pay the commission. Yeah.
as everything. Yeah, but we handled that pretty good.
But there's others that have come across the same.
They always ask, since we're not using another buyer's agent,
Oh, always.
can you cut your fee?
And what do you say?
I say that the seller's paying the fee.
There's a lot of things you can
I
say.
say it's all about the net sheet, so we'll work it out. Let's figure that out. What are you gonna offer? Let's write it up.
That question comes up so much, if you have never taken a negotiating class, you should take a negotiating class as it pertains to commission cutting, because I hear a lot of dialogue that I just go, yeah,
Yeah.
you're never gonna hold I would say that, and you know, it's funny when you come from different markets and things are different, customs are different there, where, you know, there's not a lot of commission cutting in one market, and then you come to another market, and commission cutting is rampant.
Yeah.
And you better be, your saw better be sharp, but that would be, I don't know if anybody gives that class. I took a negotiating class, and one whole afternoon was
On objections.
on commission objections. It was phenomenal. And I will say, since I took that class, it's probably made me tens of thousands of dollars in saved commissions, where I used to say, well, okay, because I thought I wouldn't get the business without it. It's a phenomenal
So-
Where do you
class.
find a class like that?
Did you get your CNE designation, certified negotiation expert
Mhm.
designation?
Oliver Frascona
Yeah.
in Colorado. He's since passed away, but he was killed in a car plane crash.
Oh, bummer.
But he did it all across the nation. And it was 4 days, but
Wow.
it was phenomenal.
All right, so Scott, to answer your question, I say that the listing compensation has already been set up when I took the listing about 60 days ago. Let's look at the house, see if there's even a desire to press on. And then I can tell you this, we'll do everything we can to get the house at the number that you would like, that's digestible for the seller. Because what's gonna happen in that, let's just say it's a $700,000 house, and Lena and I just went through this exact sequence. 700, it wasn't 700.
713.
713 was the asking price. We knew exactly where this was going. The guy offered 685 out of the first round. Seller came down to 700, and then he said, he came back and revisited the commissions. Anyway, we ended up giving him a 1% rebate, is what it all boiled down to, but he wanted the whole 3%. So I knew we were gonna end up, whatever the counter was, I knew he was gonna continue to take 20 grand off, 21 grand off of it. I just knew it. But he threatened a couple times to bring in his own agent. And what I said, because we entered him through the threshold of the home, what I said was, well, whatever agent you use, let me know, and we'll just take a referral fee at this stage on the buying side. And so that was my objection handler, and then he kept coming a little bit further to our court, a little bit further to our court, a little bit further to our court, and then we finally got it done, and you know, we're gonna end up with the deal at 5%, right, total? Oh, we got a referral fee going out to the
Referral fee on the
relocation.
sell
Yeah.
side, and then on the buy side, yeah.
Yeah, but whatever, it is what it is, it's a high-end home, but the nugget in the deal is,
Closing it is all you need to do.
well, yeah, like every cell has legs, guess where he owns a home? Here.
Desert Highlands. And we're gonna go take a
Shebang,
look at it on.
he's on the
Sweet.
3rd fairway at Desert Highlands.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and so now we have a
Leg.
listing appointment, right? So it all, you know, you work everything that's in front of you, right, to the very end. All right, so here we go. Gabe, take 575 divided by, I'm figuring out the price per square foot real quick. 575 divided by 2876. I just want to get a price per square foot, because the guy answers the phone, I want to be ready. So this is Richard and Amy Abel, one night, so I'm gonna say $200 a square foot. All right. You guys have heard a lot about circle prospecting, and you're getting the list of 10 names, right, that Matthew's sending you, if you guys have signed the disclosure form on the do not call list and that kind of stuff. So any listing you take,
I
yeah,
haven't gotten mine for New Year's Eve yet, so how's the timeline on that?
call Matthew. It should already be done.
Okay.
Call Matthew. And then I'm working on a new format for that. You know, I printed the sheet and didn't like really how it came out, so I'll be fine tuning that. Okay. All right, so here we go.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
You know you can text.
4802004.
I always leave a message.
Everybody start yelling in about 2 seconds.
Hey, Richard and Amy, it's Dell Rounds with Remax Fine Properties. Hey, I just put a coming soon sign up on the house on Sleepy Ranch Road, the Duckett's house, 5017 East Sleepy Ranch Road. And I was calling you and Amy, or Richard and Amy, to see if you have anybody that would be willing to move into the neighborhood. It's the only single level that's available. We're asking about $200 a square foot at $575. It's south facing with the pool. It's the 4-bedroom, 3-bath model. Anyway, I did put it on Zillow as a coming soon. Call me when you get a chance, 602-809-7653, because I wanted to give you an evaluation on your house on Thunderhawk. Okay, hope to talk to you soon. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Bye. Little monotone, but you know, I'm not warmed up yet. Yeah,
Well, DNC is all over my list.
yeah.
So what do you suggest? Text them? That's not calling.
Shut the camera.
So I would say 90% of all the phone numbers I have say DNC on them, and I call every one of them, and very rarely will somebody say something about it, especially if it's an expired, because if it's an expired, they've already opened themselves up. You're allowed to call them because you're calling them, and they've already offered up their information, and essentially they're in a transaction, or we're in a transaction. And I think there's a DNC window, like on expireds, where you can actually call them. But what I do, because I've had it happen, when somebody gets all pissy, like, I'm on the do not call, don't call me, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that on my list, I apologize, I'll take you off. Hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Just be
Absolutely.
cordial and be done.
Hat in hand, back out.
I've
Yep.
had rotten texts like that.
Yeah. I'd say if you're off expires and that call that Dell made, nobody's hanging up on that call. Because I can tell you one thing, I don't care if you're on the DNC list or not, when it comes to your house, you're interested.
Yeah.
And I don't think people see
And
that
the
as a
neighborhood, too.
solicitation call. Now, I do,
I don't either.
I mean, I've spent years and years getting hung up on expireds and, you know, and for sale by owners and that kind of thing. It's because the frequency of calls that they're getting.
Yeah.
That call that Dell made, that may be the only call they got this month.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're going, oh, because I'm gonna tell you as a realtor, a couple houses that are in, I'm having a hard time tracking because it's going from realtor to realtor and none of them have been me. But if an agent called me or came to my front door with information, I would take it. And I'm a realtor.
That's the key.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, because you can also, verse this, circle prospecting, you can also door knock everybody on the street on Sleepy Ranch Road, right? That's a great community. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's garden gated, it's Colina del Norte. There's no power line issue there. It's primo.
It's a terrible community, you guys stay out of there.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to continue to see if I can track down Richard and Amy until they call, because that's the other great thing about Pam is she also gives you 3 phone numbers. So here we go. 200 a square foot, Sleepy Ranch Road, the coming soon signs up.
The number you have dialed is not in service or is assigned in a different area code. Please check the number and dial again.
All right, last number. And then, guys, unfortunately, this is what you signed up for. There's only 4 things we do: lead
Yep.
generate, lead follow up, negotiate, and present. And you can't negotiate and present unless you do lead and lead follow up, period. You never.
Otherwise, please hold for an operator.
Oh. Okay.
Hello, Cisco DC Connection Messaging System.
Oh, Cisco.
From a touch-tone telephone.
Does that mean it's a cell phone?
It's probably a work one.
It's a work thing.
Yeah, okay. All right, anyway, so circle prospecting is big. Open houses are good right now. What else you guys want to talk about on lead generation? Lori and I can do a Zillow review right now. So Lori, do we have a sign-in sheet?
Yes, it should
Okay.
have been posturing.
I'm gonna send everybody in the class the way that we get Zillow reviews. So Lori's gonna send you a cut and paste that we take right out of Zillow, and we're gonna send you that tab, but that's for my Zillow review, it's just an example. And then I'm gonna make a live call right now to Jim and Pam Bowen. Their house closed on Monday. And I'm gonna ask them that they're gonna be getting our tab for a Zillow review. Lori, we have 391 Zillow reviews. And our goal now is 435. And then we're gonna go on to other sequences. So go back and claim your last 15 sales, whatever it is. Make sure they know that it has to be 150 characters. And I'm gonna call Jim, yeah,
Are you paying for any Zillow leads?
$500 a month. I took the least expensive zip code so that I can be a premier agent, so I can do the coming soon.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm doing it.
So, are you finding that because you have so many reviews and your profile looks so good, that people are actually contacting you through Zillow anyways?
Absolutely. So thanks for bringing that up. Lena, Bruce Anderson, no, is that his name, Bruce? Bruce Anderson, the guy in DC Ranch.
No,
What's his name? No, you're right, Bruce Anderson's the other guy.
Los Gatos. What are you trying to find out?
What's the guy's name in DC Ranch on Desert Vista?
Brendan.
Brendan.
Sanderson. Sorry.
Brendan found me off of Zillow, and he said, and I never went back, and he said that I was the only agent, I'm the agent that had sold the most houses in DC Ranch in the last 60 days.
Wow.
And you called them back.
Well, he called me.
Yeah.
Brendan called me from Zillow and said, not from Zillow, he's a home seller that fired his agent and went on somewhere digitally and searched who sold more houses in DC Ranch in the last 60 days, and he said it was me. And I just said, yep. Because I don't think I've sold 7 houses in 60 days. Yeah. But I said, okay.
He didn't look at the address.
Not gonna argue with you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It is hilarious, but it's amazing what you can do digitally nowadays. And these guys are partners that are not going away. They're not going away. They're too big. They're too big. So, you know, you can build it out organically. And we have certainly done that. But you got to take everything, and you got to. Lori. So I have a guy that's 80 years old that's in a nursing home, and Lori went over to him to have him do the Zillow review and walk him through it. That took you about how long?
About an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. That's how hard I fight for these. Because I know for every 5 that I get will probably bring me a sale that's huge. And when people go online and now I'm not picking on anybody, but let's take Gabe because he's new. And they're like, I got it down to Gabe, Petratus, and Del Rounds. Gabe's gonna have to make up some huge ground to say, hey, I'm digitally savvy. You're going to get me during this incubation period that you got it narrowed down to me and Del. Call Del 3 times, see how often he picks up, and call me 3 times, right? Because you guys will find more and more calls are going to my voicemail because I'm freaking busy. But when they call Gabe, hopefully he's going to answer 3 times in a row, right? So use these during your interview process that I'm readily available, I'm here. You know, I have lost listings to agents that have said I only take 1 listing at a time.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
What took one of my best clients, the owner of Massage Envy, and I go back 40 years, and his daughter's competitive skater. And the guy that she was taking ballet lessons from is licensed. And he looked at John and said, this was a $2.5 million house, and said, John and Robin, I only take 1 listing at a time till it sells, so you get me 100,000%. And John called me up and said, yeah, well, you know, you're busy. The reason why my house hasn't sold is because you're not focusing on it all day long.
You said, dude, my bills are more than that dude, obviously.
Yeah, but hey, who in here doesn't have a listing?
Right now.
Use it. Now, here's the backside of that, right? You get the listing, then another listing incubates. You call and apologize. saying, hey, 60 days ago I used that same thing, and now that buyer's coming back, so, I don't only have yours now I got 2. Is that seller gonna be mad?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, not if he hears it from you.
Well, I don't think you have to say only one listing. I mean, you can
Yeah.
honestly say, I keep a very small listing profile.
Okay.
You don't have to paint yourself in a corner.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, however that look, but I'm telling you, I lost a great listing on that deal, and that guy, just like the guy I said that we took $22,500 from, took 75 from me.
He's in the flow.
He's in the flow.
Yeah.
He's in, yeah. So is there's a anyway, 40% now of the gig economy has side income. So I just read this in the Wall Street Journal. I was going to bring it in today.
What's
So
a
what does
gig
that mean? It
economy?
means personal trainers are also licensed mortgage brokers. It means that your bartender is also a licensed agent.
Yeah.
It means that your interior designer is also a general contractor. It means that your mailman is also an Amway person. It means that your Amway person is also a vice president of, 40% of the people are using other means of income. And the average income from that second stream of business, it's called the gig economy. I didn't even know what the definition was. I thought it had something to do with 4G.
Yeah.
Seriously, I did.
Yeah.
I didn't know what
is it? What?
Gig meaning like Uber driver, it's a different gig.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's side
gig.
hustle.
Oh, it's like your gig.
No. I thought it had to do
I did
with.
too. No,
Oh, you did too?
yeah.
Well, that's
Now I
good.
understand it's another gig.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like I said, the gig.
Yeah, but I
I'm
didn't.
only guessing. I'm only
No, it
guessing.
makes
I don't
sense.
know.
That
I
makes
can't.
Well, I'm glad
Gig is another cool word
Because
for
your
a
IQ's
job.
higher than mine. So I'm glad.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought gig economy meant 4G. Like I thought it was. No, it's.
So they're calling it a 4-gig economy?
No, they're just
No.
calling it a
It's
gig
gig.
economy. What's your gig?
You can
So,
confuse everybody.
okay, all right, back up. When I first heard about a gig economy, I thought it had to do with 4G network about,
Yeah.
digital phones,
I
right?
got it.
Smartphones. Nothing to do with that. A gig economy means what's your gig on the side, and the average income for that is $8,500 a year. Pretty serious. So they're-
Well, 75,000 for that one guy.
yeah.
Right?
Because he takes one lesson at a time.
Right.
And he's a ballet teacher.
Perfect.
Yeah, now, anybody in this room, if that comes up, you should be able to pummel him, because you can say, no, I go to the Cave Creek Tour and I tout your property every week. I go to the Pinnacle Peak Tour and I tout your property with brochures. I get up there and talk about it. And then I put you on the tour. And then I partnered with the program that's got everybody's email address of every licensed agent in Arizona, which is 50,000. So when I list your house, 50,000 agents are gonna get a personal invitation to come to your first open house. That stuff's powerful in a listing presentation. But you gotta work it and use it, because the first couple times, just like you do in your video, you're gonna fumble because you don't know. And just like your first time in door knocking, you're gonna forget the door. It's common, right? So you gotta practice. You gotta have like a couple interviews a week to really get in the flow.
Yeah.
It's competitive.
So I've got one of the things that, obviously, my board game's a little different.
Right.
And I want to brag on Colleen a little bit, because, Colleen, you guys know Colleen came from property management. When she joined my team from the administrative side, I said, you're not administrative, you have to change your thinking. You have to think and act like an agent now, because you're not administrative, you're now my colleague. You don't work for me, you work with me. And we changed her. She was very uncomfortable doing anything personal on Facebook. She's having her first closing this month off of Facebook.
Yay.
And guess where she's gonna be tomorrow? She's showing $1 million homes because her friend saw her on Facebook and said,
Yeah.
I had no idea you were an agent.
No way.
And she's had her license for 40 years, guys, so it does work,
Yeah.
but I have to
Good for you.
tell you one thing. So I'm flying, I've got a listing appointment tomorrow in Colorado Springs in Monument. So I'm getting on a plane this afternoon, and I'm gonna throw a little pleasure in there too. So I was saying, okay, I didn't make any phone calls yesterday, but I figured, how do I lead generate tomorrow? So I said, I gotta let people know I'm coming to the Springs. And so instead of just saying, I'm at Sky Harbor Airport, heading to the Springs, so I did this, and it says, picture one, Dad, I want to go to Colorado Springs with you, look how cute I am. My dog is a rescue dog, and every time I open my suitcase, he jumps in. I don't know if it's because he's
That's
afraid
awesome.
that I'm gonna leave him. So the second thing was picture two, sweet, Dad's gone, let's party. He's smoking a cigarette.
Oh yeah, I saw that, it was hilarious.
And so,
Yeah.
but the thing is, the reason I mentioned that is look at, look, it is a joint. Well, let me just tell you, so here's what, I was hoping to lead generate this way. My pool guy, hey, I'm flying to Springs today as well. No doubt. Frontier today at 4:07? Yes, sir. I said, I'll see you there, dude. PMs me. He said, my folks are thinking about putting their house on the market in Colorado Springs. How long are you gonna be there? That was just, so now, obviously, I don't do that, you know, I don't take the listing there, you know, I have a team that does that, a referral team. But if it's, I don't know what the price is or anything like that. I know he's my pool guy, but I know they own a racing team, so I guess it's probably not a $100,000 house.
Yeah, but okay, most coaches will tell you, don't concentrate on volume, concentrate on units.
Yeah. Yeah.
Concentrate on runs, not how you got the runs. It's a big deal because units create momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
So I'm saying after you're done making the calls and stuff like that, your data shouldn't end.
No.
Start banging on this stuff.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call Pam Bowen, Jim's wife, because Jim never picks up the phone. And this call is gonna be really easy because I did a great job for them. So their home is right up the street. I don't remember the address. We did a lease purchase. So I'm gonna have him talk about me and creative financing on this Zillow review. Pam Bowen.
Did they sell Dana Oak?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
8609
Oh.
Huh?
Oh, you did? Too bad.
Oh, no, she's.
Well, oh, when they bought it.
She's gonna break.
Yeah, they still deal on
Absolutely. I doubt.
That cut, yeah, the deal leads pretty good. Oh, that's Jim. Let me call him. How did I get Jim? So guys, these are really, they're big. They're all, I would say it's almost as important as doing the deal. Because the digital aspect of it just helps you grow. And you can do 3 reviews. You can do Yelp, you can do Google, and you can do Zillow. Zip Forms. That's one out of.
Did you say realtor.com?
I did not because I don't think, does Realtor.com have a platform for reviews?
They think so.
How is that? Is that powerful right now? How are you guys?
I don't know.
Who's using Zillow?
Darren uses realtor.com on all of it.
He does. So he's transferred, or is he doing both?
He does both. He asks, I have a copy of what he asks.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Those are
There is a lot of
Your dog's like, yeah, I do. So awesome. You're like,
Can you send it to Jim and Pam? Remind him it has to be 150 characters. You try one more. Who's having trouble getting Zillow reviews? Okay, the only other thing I can think of, oddly, is to take your notebook computer and go get it, and try to get it a week before the closing.
Yeah.
Don't wait till after. Just have them
Go
do
to the
it.
signing table by any chance? Do you guys go to your signings? I would make sure you bring your laptop or whatever, your iPad, and just do it there.
Great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you write the letter for
Because
I'm
they're
thinking
I've got a
so
ton,
excited that
I probably have.
No, I just
you're
write
there.
Mine Zillow requests.
But you can't sign it.
Okay, I got one voicemail.
You have
I
to
got
send
400.
it.
Hey, Jim and Pam, it's Del Rounds. Hey, Jim and Pam, I wanted to follow up on you giving me a Zillow review. Lori in my office is sending you a link that goes directly to Zillow. If you don't mind clicking on that, it has to be 150 characters. And I'd like you to review my services. As you know, the digital reviews are huge in my industry, and it really helps me out. The second thing, if you don't mind putting in there about how creative we were in getting the deal done on the lease purchase. And because we don't do these very often, and it'll add a whole nother campaign to our services that we provide here at Remax Land Property. So if you can mention the creative financing and how we thought out of the box, a couple of buzzwords like that, and then it has to be 150 characters. But Lori sent it to you now, and I'll follow up with you tomorrow to see what your thoughts are around that. You guys are probably out golfing, so anyway, have a happy Thursday, and I'll see you guys for lunch when I get back from Colorado. All right, talk to you soon, bye. So he's from Durango, 5 or 6 over the years. So you have to work all aspects of the business in order to be successful. Digital, phone, old school ground game, door knock, open houses, all that kind of stuff in order to do it. And you have to make it a priority because people are making decisions now and every day counts. If we would have waited probably another week, the guy would have had that house listed.
Might have, yeah.
Carl left. Carl and I, not yesterday's door knocking session, but the week before that, I was hoping that was Carl. We knocked on the lady's door, and she was interviewing 3 agents that day.
Holy moly.
That day. We begged for an interview and couldn't make up enough ground. If he would have done that 3 days earlier,
Those 3 wouldn't have showed up.
we would have been one of the 3. It makes a difference. And the one day you choose not to look at what's going on in the industry on expires and cancels is the one day that your old football coach expired, or the principal of the school that you know, Mrs. Evans, expired, right? Or your best friend's uncle that has the same name that's really unusual that you recognize and say, I know Argula or something like that you could have connected with, expired. You got to look at them every day. All right. Sorry, guys, I rambled, but it's a big deal.
It's a great
out there.
class, thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys coming, and I'm not going to be here next Thursday. Sandy and Paul Baker are teaching the class.
All right.
Yeah, and then I'm in a perfect storm because the Thursday after that is the Waste Management Open.
You won't be here.
No, I'm going to be drunk.
He's taking me. I'm gonna be on the 16th hole as well.
I'm going to be killing brain
I'll
cells.
cover for you, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, you will on that day?
Yeah.
Here?
Oh, sweet.
No way.
Oh, no, anywhere.
Oh,
Anywhere.
how about right here?
Okay.
You will?
As long as you guys tell me what you want to talk about. I meant like for
Well,
like
if
sales.
That'd be awesome.
You'll have it made. As long as Frank's here, you got it made.
Yes,
Because
true.
he's done this a million
Yeah,
times.
yeah. We did that last time.
I'll be at the waste management.
Oh, there we go.
Well,
No,
I have
you're-
two
no
Remax brokers coming
I
in.
think there's no class that day. but we'll just-
That's